Alright everyone, it's time to get our chuckle on at the women's convention taking place in Detroit, because Sanders was the first speaker there, and when they announced, oh, Bernie Sanders is going to be the opening speaker at the women's convention, they said, you know, they started screeching, and then they said, well, why isn't it a woman? Because it matters. Quite clearly, a woman can represent you better than a man can. Not necessarily. That's like saying like Jesse Jackson, who just defrauds everyone that he comes into contact with, that he speaks for black people. Or Al Sharpton or David Duke speaks for white people because he mentions it and happens to be white. No, that's a pile of bullshit. Don't you understand that there are plenty of people on the so-called other ideological fringe that do the same fucking thing? This person really represents, you know, most of these people are hyper rich. Like the people that you're mentioning, like Maxine Waters, we're talking multi-millionaire mode. Bernie Sanders, until very recently, was relatively impoverished even for a senator. In his defense, he actually made do with considerably less. Of course, now he has the nice little McMansion on the lakeside and things because, of course, I think somebody handed him a little paper slip at some point saying, just shut up and here's a check. But until then, yeah, comparatively speaking, way better than many of these people. Certainly better than the John McCain. How many houses does he have? Like 6, 7? Wonder how he got them all as a senator. Well, a wonderful person. He manages to make do with that, what, $500,000 a year salary or whatever the crazy number he gets. But you've got to understand as well, this is a symptom of the sickness within the liberal movement of today when you really think about it. Like, they're attacking him just because he has a dong between his legs. That's the only reason they're doing so. They don't even realize what that sounds like. Because at the same time, if you criticize someone who is a female politician, they could be like rich and corrupt and saying, well, we need to go kill people. And if you criticize them, oh, you're an evil sexist, we can ignore what you say. It doesn't matter what you say because this person's got ovaries and you don't. So screw yourself, basically. So they were all upset that Bernie Sanders was going to speak there. And it's like, last time I checked, there had never been any substantial or legitimate claim that Sanders was a sexist individual. I think most of his ideological opponents would actually refer to him in totally different terms and say he's controlled by a bunch of social justice warriors, including the feminist aspect there. I would tend to generally agree with that. Like, remember when those Black Lives Matter girls got up on stage and they took the podium away from him at one of his own fucking rallies, and he just sort of stood there looking off into the distance, nodding his head politely? Like, at the time, that may have played up really, really well to the young far-left demographic that he would have gotten 90% of the vote on anyway. And they were probably sent by Hillary Clinton's goons anyway to try to sow discord. What they wanted is for him to react angrily so that it would undercut him probably. It's one of the Clintonian sort of tactics you'd use. But, I mean, he just stood there and did nothing. Everyone else in the country, though, saw, you know, is this really someone who could be a strong commander-in-chief, or is this somebody who's bending over a little bit too far backwards, even if you agree with the ideological principles behind those interrupting him at the time? That's basically Bernie Sanders. You can't think of anybody, like, they're mentioning people who aren't as far left as him on women's rights or any other issue. They're mentioning people who look like centrists compared to him and comparing him negatively with them because he happens to have a dong. Look, I'd heard of 2 of the people on the list. There were 4 people mentioned. Maxine Waters is one. She's totally toxic. By the way, she's not going to be president or anything. Kamala Harris, again, totally toxic, totally corrupt. Comes off as a total jerk-ass to the average person in the United States. And then Cecile something or other that I had never heard of. And then Gillibrand, whose main claim to fame is being Gillibrand. You know, if you're a fan of hers, you know who she is. Otherwise, most people don't have a fucking clue. I hate to say it, but Bernie Sanders has the most name recognition of any Democrat without actually being a Democrat. It's actually quite funny. Then you got Hillary Clinton, but I don't think anyone wants Hillary Clinton. You know, the person who failed to crack the glass ceiling is going to speak at the women's convention and tell you why you're all evil, despicable people because you didn't vote for her enough. Because basically that's what she said. She burned that bridge. She can't even go to like a feminist organization's rally anymore. She can't even go and talk to like the captive audience that she would most count on. ends up losing with college-educated white women anyway because she comes off as such a jerk. Most of these people are asshats. Bernie Sanders, think what you will about him, and I'm not a fan of much in the way of his proposals, of course. At the very least, he doesn't come off as a total tyrant. He might come off as weak. That's definitely true. He doesn't exactly stick to his guns under fire. He wouldn't debate Hillary Clinton. He wouldn't take back his own podium. You know, he sits there like marveling when a sparrow flies onto the place where he's making a speech as though some weird religious symbology behind it. And that's Bernie Sanders to me. But he doesn't come, he's not the same as like a Clinton or a Maxine Waters or some other extremely shriveled old prune-like bullshit artist. Or for that matter, a chucklehead like Biden. Like he's more intelligent and well-spoken, which isn't, you know, saying much, but, you know, let's do the comparison to Biden too. I think Obama would be the only other person who would have qualified as someone with the proper name recognition to actually front the little convention that they were having. The problem being, of course, he's got bigger things to do. He's busy right now eating pineapples and hanging out with Bill Clinton, you know, before he ends up becoming mummified. So he's taking some time off for the politics thing, generally speaking, I believe, at the moment. That's about all. Peace out.